Hi, and welcome to the Feeding Hour. On this episode, we welcome Julie Champeau, an occupational therapist and lactation consultant who shares her personal breastfeeding journey with her son. She discusses her initial plans for a low-intervention birth and subsequent C-section. She talks about early breastfeeding challenges, including gestational diabetes, low blood sugar, triple feeding, nipple shield, and mastitis. We especially talked about extended breastfeeding, how this can provide comfort to both the mother and baby during significant life changes. Thank you so much, Julie, for sharing your story with us. Enjoy. Hey, Abby.
Hi, Catherine. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I'm excited for our guest today.
Yeah, let's hear our guest. You introduce her.
Okay. This is Julie Champeau. She is an occupational therapist and an IBCLC lactation consultant as well, and a mom of one. And we're so excited to hear her feeding journey today.
Yes, welcome, Julie. We're so happy to have you. Side
I'm
note to our
excited to be
listeners.
here.
Yeah,
Thanks for
she is the reason this podcast exists. Julie connected
Yes, she
Abby and I.
introduced Catherine and I.
Yeah,
So grateful for that.
I'm
yeah.
glad that you guys are such a good match. And I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, but I didn't want to binge it right before I met with you because I didn't want to I don't know, copy somebody or anything. So I've
Yes.
taken a break from listening, but I'll catch up
Okay.
after the
Love
recording.
it. Love
Well,
it.
it's funny, we've laughed because, I mean, so many people have something different going on, but there are obviously a lot of similarities. Even with people like in the field, we still have our
Yeah.
own challenges. So it's good to, yeah, good to hear what came up for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was interested in doing lactation, and I always could see how it was related to occupational therapy, but I just didn't really want to dive in until I had experienced it, just in case it was not a good experience for me or anything like that. So I didn't really start my training until yeah, I experienced it. And so yeah.
Nice.
So I think we'll talk
So
about
what happened? Yes. How was your
that.
pregnancy, birth, early breastfeeding,
So
whatever you
yeah,
want to
so
share?
I feel like at the beginning, the first time I was pregnant, I was trying to do all the right things.
Mm.
I took the birth class, I took the breastfeeding class, and it actually was nice because my doula was also my birth teacher and my breastfeeding class teacher. And my doula was also a training to be an IBCLC. She was just getting her hours, so she was well on her way. And so I felt like I learned the things before that I needed to learn, and I had planned a low intervention birth because I knew that that could help my breastfeeding success. And so I found a midwife that was, where I lived back then. She was the only hospital midwife in the whole area. So I felt like I was doing all the right things. And but then at the end of my pregnancy, and so this was in December of 2019, my blood pressure went up at the end. And so then I had to have an induction at 39 weeks. So thankfully, we weren't worried about any preterm stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I had the, kind of cascade of interventions that they talk about. And my 37-hour induction turned into a C-section, which was not at all what I had planned for. And so, immediately I was, oh no, how's breastfeeding going to go? I know I wasn't supposed to
Yeah.
have a C-section. I was just kind of very worried about following the rules and doing all the right things.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, it was hard after that long labor and C-section. And I remember the hospital IBCLC came soon after and had me started pumping right away, which it's frustrating to be hooked up to an electric pump, when it's
Yes.
colostrum, if that, because you're just not really seeing anything. So it was very frustrating at first. And then I can't remember if it was like on day 1 or 2, but yeah, my son, he was just very sleepy. One thing that happened also with that pregnancy was I had gestational diabetes, which was diet controlled. So I was,
Uh-huh.
everything was still pretty healthy and good, but my baby's blood pressure or blood sugar was low. And so and I wasn't expressing colostrum. So right then they wanted to give him a bottle of formula because they were
Ugh.
worried about his blood sugar. So here I was like, oh, here we are. It's day 1. He's already had formula. This is not going to go well. But um, so things were hard at the very first day 1, day 2.
Yeah. And it's just like so different from how you thought it would go.
Yeah,
I feel
because
like
when I
that's
took
a
the
good
class,
thing.
she's like, "Oh, and your baby's gonna do this breast crawl, and they're
Yeah.
gonna latch on themselves," and I'm just like, "This is not happening." So, um, so yeah, at the very beginning, in the very early days, I was doing a lot of, or like still in the hospital even, and then like that first day home before my milk came in, I was doing a lot of pumping, a lot of syringe feeding, formula, like, and then I think it was like and it was just hard. And yeah. And so then I had my doula who was training for her IBCLC come over and do a home visit. And it
Ugh.
just kind of turned everything around. So she
The
came
right
over.
support at the right time. That's amazing.
Yes,
Was
I
that on
had
like
someone
day,
come
like
on, I
early
think,
days? Like
yes, I think it
yeah.
was our second day at home, and she just showed me some tricks. She introduced a nipple shield, which I used maybe for a week, but it just was just enough that my son needed just to like get latched on.
Yep.
Um, and then once my milk came in, like, I think it was on day 4, everything kind of turned around for the better. Things were going
Yes.
good.
That's awesome. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and I
I
just
love
felt kind
how
of
you
like,
even talk about the challenges though, about like even though that was such a short time, during that time, like those 4 days feel like
oh yeah,
eternity
that's
because it's
like,
like every 2 hours you're
yeah,
feeding this baby.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, I was worried about the blood sugar and all this stuff. But so then like things seemed to be um going well. And I was just like, oh, like maybe, I had this birth I didn't plan for, but now my baby's breastfeeding. So maybe this is like, balancing out, like
Mhm.
this is gonna be easy now. But then at 2 months, at the 2 month checkup at the pediatrician, there were 2 things that were kind of stressful. So my son had hardly gained any weight, which I was just clueless to.
Yeah.
And then also the pediatrician also noticed a heart murmur that they did not notice before.
Wow. Oh my
And
gosh.
so the pediatrician is like, oh, you need to get a cardiology consult, and he might have a heart defect because he's not growing, and maybe he's just tired because of this heart thing. And so that was a little stressful. And I lived in this kind of small town in Texas. And so, we got this appointment with this cardiologist. And luckily, thankfully, they did the echo, the heart stuff was fine. Later on, we did follow-ups. We actually never had to go back to the cardiologist. We just did regular pediatrician follow-ups, and there's been no other concern. He just had a little tiny hole in his heart that was kind of
Healing.
a thing that happens and
Okay.
not an issue. But
Okay.
they were concerned because he also wasn't growing. And so at that
They were
point, I
thinking, is he
started,
fatiguing or something, or is
yes,
there
yeah,
something going on with feeding? Yeah.
yes. So at that point, I started triple feeding, which
Ugh.
I think people have probably talked about here, which is where
Mhm.
you pump, you bottle feed, you nurse, you do it all. And so this was also February of 2020. So
Ugh.
it's which things were fine. Like so I started triple feeding, and like I was like, worried about my baby wasn't getting enough. And so brought back over the lactation consultant. And so she came back and she gave me a good plan for like triple feeding and like a plan for like growth. Like I think she gave me a good plan, but after like maybe a week or something, things were not, he still was not eating very efficiently. So she brought in her mentor who came over, and she was thinking that because also then at that time I got mastitis on my left side. And so when I got the mastitis, then my supply really tanked, especially on that side. So then I was also supplementing with formula a lot. And so then the mentor came over and she was like, I think that this might be like a posterior tongue tie that wasn't obvious to us before. Like a lot of these signs are pointing to this. So she was like, well, let's start with, the less invasive things. Let's do some body work. Like this is a chiropractor that I know. And then we'll, see if that helps a little bit, because he also has a little bit of a left head turn preference. So let's just see if some body work can help before we jump into something super invasive. I was like, great. We did one visit with a chiropractor. Also, around that time, I did go back to work for a week or two. But so anyway, we did one chiropractor visit, and I'm triple feeding all the time. And then it was March 2020, and then everything shut down. So at that time, no one was going to the doctor unless you were very sick. Everyone was worried about going to the doctor, and even when you did go, you had to wear a mask, and all the things. So I basically stopped pursuing any tongue tie treatment. I never had him seen by an ENT. I never had him seen by a dentist or anything.
Because that's kind of like an elective thing at this point.
I never went back to the chiropractor. I just was like, well, we're quarantining at home. We're just gonna do this.
Figure it out. Yeah.
And so the timing of that was pretty wild. So thankfully,
your story might have been different. If it was at a different time.
If COVID didn't happen, would I have gone to get, get a tongue tie release? Would I have done this? I don't know. But we just stayed home, and there was nothing else to do. So we just worked on breastfeeding. And it actually got to where probably over a month, I don't know the exact timing, but I know for sure by 5 months, he was exclusively breastfeeding again. I wasn't using formula again, and I wasn't triple feeding. So I think it was probably a whole month or so of triple feeding.
Yeah.
Maybe not every time, but kind of gradually getting back to exclusive. But yeah, when I was totally off formula again at 5 months, I was like, oh my gosh, we did it.
This is such a cool story, because I don't think we hear a lot of times people who were the up and down of it. And I think that's so good to hear that everything is temporary. It's all what we're working on. You're using the interventions you need to use at the time. And it might change. I've said that to moms before, hey, when you start solids, when they get more efficient, when they get just older, they might get better at not needing all this supplementation. And as long as you keep your supply up in the meantime, it's probably because you pumped that whole time that
you could
let you have
he
enough
was then
milk
able to compensate. And plus then he was a big 4-month-old older baby who could take it. And so I think we just kept breastfeeding being a positive experience, and I kept my supply up, and we did. But in real life, if that wasn't COVID quarantine, I wouldn't have time to have done. So I wouldn't recommend my story to people,
to other people. Yeah.
I was in lockdown. There was nothing else to do. So that's what we did.
I never thought about that COVID probably really supported a lot of breastfeeding on demand for people,
Yeah. Because you had less.
And people were working from home all of a sudden. And so that was pretty wild. So then, I got back to exclusively breastfeeding, and things were great. I felt like we had a great breastfeeding relationship. Starting solids was fun, no pressure. At 7, I think I was furloughed from work. I planned to go back to work, but I got called off at the beginning of COVID. And then I ended up going back at 7 months. So I did experience like pumping while I was away, and then like still breastfeeding in the afternoons and weekends. Um, and then at when my son was a year, I stopped pumping at work. And that, like, I feel like that is like the sweetest spot when you're just like still able to like breastfeed as much as you want, but you like don't have to worry about like volumes
Why?
and like keeping up your supply while you're at work and like dealing with the pump and all of that. Like, yeah, like that
You're like,
is.
hey, whatever you think is great, and I don't
And
care.
so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with you guys, which like I don't know, like people don't talk about it as much, is like the benefits of extended breastfeeding.
Oh, I would
Um,
love to hear about this because we have said
Yes.
that what we've heard once before is just like, we talked about how easy it is after a year and like
yeah,
how freeing it is to not pump and be like they're eating solids anyway, but they can
yeah,
breastfeed,
For
whenever, and they're
attachment or
yeah,
yes. And it's still very nutritionally dense, even though
yeah.
it's smaller quantities at that time. But yeah,
yeah.
tell us whatever you want
Yeah,
to share
so
about.
I got to that one year. I stopped pumping at work, but we were still like nursing. You know, anytime I wasn't at work, I felt like it was a great spot to be in. And then around that time too, I was like thinking like I would considered weaning. I feel like once you get to your goal, you're like always considering weaning. You're always like, are we going to stop soon? Are we going to keep going? Like, oh, I have this trip coming up. Maybe I'll stop. Maybe I'll like, you're just kind
Yeah.
of, you never
Dancing.
really know exactly when you're going to stop. So, and also during that time, I was considering trying to conceive and I wanted to bring back my fertility. So I was considering like weaning just to try to like, bring my fertility back because that's also like a
Mhm.
factor, especially once we get into extended breastfeeding.
Mhm.
Um, but then at 18 months, we were still nursing, even though I had considered stopping, kind of tried to stop a couple times, but like not wholeheartedly. Like it was just like, oh, it'd be, yeah, low key tried to stop. So then we get to 18
Uh-huh.
months and my life like totally flipped upside down. Without telling the backstory, because that's a whole nother story, I suddenly kind of decided to leave my husband and enter the world of becoming a single mom and move across the country. Also at that exact same time, at the my son's 18-month checkup, they found a mass on his butt cheek, and they were really concerned that he had some sort of cancer. And so they were like, you need to go to the specialty hospital that's hours away.
Oh my
And
God.
I was like, I need to go across the country and be near my family because I'm about to start my single mom journey today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was and so that at that point, that was the start where the benefits of the extended breastfeeding were really good because like
Yeah.
here, like I was worried about my son that he was sick and I was like, okay, well, he's breastfeeding, like this is good, right? So we ended up coming to Atlanta and he ended up needing to have a sedated MRI. Then he had to have 4 procedures over 2 years at CHOA, all from
Oh my
like 20
gosh.
months old until like, I guess almost 3 years old, something like that.
I didn't
So he had these
realize that.
procedures. And so, and like my brain was going crazy because I was like figuring out how to get divorced, where to live, start daycare, get a job, like take my son to all these specialty appointments
Everything.
and do his wound care. And like life was insane. And
Yeah.
I think of that time of my life as just being like in survival mode. But one of the things that really got me through was just nursing because my son, he was like, sad after a procedure or something like that. And it just forced me to just sit still and to just take deep breaths and to just slow down. And as much as like the rest of the time my brain was swirling, I was just so thankful to have that time that my son would just be like, okay, mom, time to sit still, time to breathe, time to just like
That's so
relax.
beautiful.
And
Oh,
So yeah,
that's
I'm think like also during that time, therapy was very helpful. I will say on the
yes.
side, but I just am like the like slowing down that nursing
Yeah.
forced me to have was so necessary. And like if we weren't still breastfeeding at a year and a half, like I don't know if I would have allowed myself to slow down.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
then
so
continue
beautiful.
just
And like helping him with the transition of
yes,
moving and
yeah, like he
everything, and
was
then
starting
keeping
daycare.
something the
Yeah,
same. Yeah. And then
yeah,
also, not to mention, like during the procedures, I'm sure it was helpful to like have a way to
yeah,
calm him down.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
that's just
so useful when he was going through all that medical stuff. And so like like one of the benefits to breastfeeding that people forget is like the co-regulation piece. And like that is just like so helpful for us to just everyone just like sit still, calm down, calm each other down. Where both of our nervous systems were kind of going wild. We're both just sitting still. And it was just very helpful. And then yeah,
yeah.
and so it ended up that we ended up nursing for 2.5 years. And like when you're
Wow.
getting near the end and you're extended breastfeeding a toddler, you never really know which time is going to be the end because sometimes you can go days without breastfeeding. You can go, like it's not like
Yeah.
in the newborn days. It's more like but I think that one thing that like just came full circle for me was that the last breastfeeding session that we had was on Mother's Day of when my son was
Oh,
2.5. And I just like, I don't know. I just remember I remember that time because like for a long time I was like, like, what if this is the last time? Let me remember this. What if this is the last time? So then finally
let
on
me
that Mother's Day, I was like, maybe this is the last time I'm going to remember this. And I did. And I'm just like, it just
that was
made me
it.
like so
wow.
content with stopping. So
What was that
Yes.
like deciding to stop, or did he decide to stop,
it was
or
very mutual. It was very mutual.
Yeah.
Like I was ready to be done. I was like, you're 2.5. I'm done. Like, I and
He
so
wasn't asking a ton anymore. He was kind of
no,
like done asking.
no,
Yeah.
no. And
Yeah.
it was just yeah, and it was also to where I was like, well, what if he doesn't ask again? Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, it's fine if he doesn't. It's fine if he doesn't. But like, what if our last time already happened? Like,
Yeah.
um, and
Gosh.
so yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to like, as part of my story, talk about some of the ways that extended breastfeeding
Oh,
kind of helped
I
me.
love that. And just, yeah, I love that whole journey. And even just hearing what it sounds like to kind of like not really have to mentally be like, I'm weaning. Like
Yeah,
you just kind of let it naturally fizzle out and
yeah,
just it's more and more spaced, different
and
ways of
that's yeah,
comforting,
and
and
that's
then
what's
it just
better for our
naturally.
bodies too. Like
yeah?
our bodies adjust better when we don't have this sudden hormonal change because we suddenly stop.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah,
And that, I feel like, getting back to the core of the podcast, attachment feeding, your son and you went through, a relationship change,
mhm,
COVID, moving across the country, a medical diagnosis, and feeding was this way, the way
Connecting.
nature
yeah,
intended it to be, like
mhm,
the like you touched on, the co-regulation, and when you're going through, life on life's terms, you have each other, and
yeah.
that's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I
Oh,
totally believe that parents can bond with their babies without breastfeeding, but I'm just
totally.
thankful that that was part of our journey because, like,
Story. Yeah. And it's cool that how like there were so many times like you had challenges and then like thoughts of weaning and then
yeah,
thoughts of like there are so many times when like it could have ended sooner. And I just
yeah,
think it's cool that like I don't know, maybe it was just like meant to be that it
yeah,
carried you through the whole time, you know?
yeah,
It's
yeah. No, I'm
cool.
thankful. So yeah, I'm gonna have another chance to have a new breastfeeding journey just in
Yay.
a few more months. And so we'll see how that
Congratulations.
goes.
We're so excited to
Yes.
hear about that journey. Maybe we'll have you on again to hear that story
Yeah,
next time.
it will be I'm sure it'll be totally different because
Yes,
yeah, my
always
perspective
is.
is a lot different. So
Right. Wow.
Always is, but you'll learn new things, I'm sure, along the
Yes.
way.
yes, for sure.
Well, Julie, we always ask, what would you tell new moms that are maybe struggling in their feeding journey? Say they have a newborn.
I would just say that there are a lot of different ways to do the right thing. There's not only one right thing to do, and the right thing to do for everybody is not the same. So listen to what your heart is telling you to do, because that's the right thing for you specifically to do.
Oh,
So.
love that.
That's so good.
So good. Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
This was a
thank you
great
My
so
episode.
much.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Julie,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, just amazing stories. Like, I really feel privileged to be a part of this.
No, I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share for sure.
Julie, where can people find you? Your website?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So yeah, my website is called growtogetherlactation.com. My Instagram is julie.ot.ibclc. And yeah, you can email me at julie at my website, growtogetherlactation.com. Yeah, I do practice home visits and classes and things like that. Yeah, I almost forgot about that side of myself. I was just thinking about my breastfeeding
The
journey.
motherhood side, yes, but
Yeah.
we always are like, might as well.
Yeah, and during all of that, through my journey, I wanted to help other people, and so I pursued all the stuff to slowly, gradually become IBCLC. So
yes.
Well, I think if this resonates with someone, I always want to have a practitioner that I resonate with. You know what I mean? That I know perhaps went through what I went through. So I just think, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me
Julie.
share.
Oh,
Thank you, Julie.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, bye, everybody.
Bye, you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you are interested in learning more about attachment feeding or have any feedback for us at all, please email us at thefeedinghourpodcast@gmail.com. You can also sign up for our email list in the link in the show notes to be the first to know when a new episode is released. See you next time, and happy feeding.